Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to City Circle. We're talking tonight on the topic breaking the silence and Islam and mental health. 1 in 4 people in the UK experience mental health problems at some point during their life, according to the mental health charity Mind. But yet, while all of us can think of people who suffered from cancer and from physical medical problems, even common illnesses like depression and anxiety, most people will struggle to think of people who they know who suffered those conditions. And that's not because those things aren't going on, it's because they're hidden and largely untalked about. Furthermore, we know that black and ethnic minority communities in the UK, who include most Muslims, are more likely to suffer from mental health problems. Now, there's all sorts of reasons for that, which hopefully tonight will go some way into distilling. But some of the factors that might be contributing towards that include high unemployment and lack of opportunity, poor housing, bad physical health, which can lead on to mental health problems, negative media portrayals, and of course the rise of Islamophobia and discrimination that many Muslims are suffering in the UK. There are, of course, also big cultural disparities in attitudes towards mental health. It's a whole 18 years now since the Norwegian Prime Minister publicly announced that he was suffering from a depressive episode, and as a consequence of that, in Norway, awareness of mental health problems increased significantly. Meanwhile, at the other end of the scale, we know that in languages such as Urdu, Somali and Arabic, there isn't actually even a word for depression. This leads to a strong sense of stigma, of course, and it prevents sufferers from talking about their problems and from seeking help and support. And in turn, it leads to them largely becoming isolated and suffering from ostracisation, only compounding their problems. So tonight, we're going to look at a number of questions, and we're going to look at how society can help to support and provide a more culturally appropriate mental health service for mental health illness sufferers. We're going to look at what we can do as a society and as a Muslim community to tackle the stigma attached to mental health, and particularly within Muslim communities. And also from a religious perspective, we're going to be looking at what Islam teaches us about mental health issues. So, joining us to discuss all of these questions and this topic tonight, we've got a panel of 3 speakers. On my left here is Adnan Nasrullah, who many of you will know as an imam and broadcaster, who was also formerly a relate counsellor. Khadija Abdulhamid is on the end here. She's a business management graduate and the founder of the campaign Unity. And Furqan Tahir is GP registrar and the vice chair and the interim director of operations at the Muslim Youth Helpline. Please give them all a very warm welcome. Do remember tonight, if you're on Twitter, you can follow the discussion and contribute to it. Just use the hashtag #CCTalks, which is just up on the screen on your right there. Okay, so the format for tonight is, as with most of our City Circle talks, I'm going to invite each of the speakers to speak for around about 10 minutes each on their own area of specialism and their own area of focus on the topic of mental health. And then after that, we'll open things up to general discussion and invite questions and points from the floor. Obviously, we're videoing the talk tonight as well, and that will hopefully be on YouTube in a few days' time. So if there are people who you know who weren't able to make it tonight, direct them to the City Circle YouTube channel, which is linked to from our website, and we'll be able to follow everything. So our first speaker tonight is Furqan Tahir. As I said, she's a GP registrar working in London and has been involved with the Muslim Youth Helpline since she started as a volunteer there in 2003. She's carried on with her work at Muslim Youth Helpline and joined the board of trustees in 2011 and is now the vice chair and the interim director of operations there. So, Furqan, over to you.
I'm privileged to be invited here to talk about mental health because it's a subject that's very much close to my heart, but also it's an issue that's probably going to touch each and every one of us in our lifetime. So it's really important for us to talk about it, especially as we are going to be bringing up the next generation of youngsters, so we have to emphasise the importance of mental health. I'd like to introduce you to the work of the Muslim Youth Helpline. We are a charity that was set up in 2001 as a response to the issues faced by young people at the time. So it was felt that there weren't any services available to support young Muslims with the issues that they were going through, specifically around mental health, abuse, identity. There's a lot of isolation, marginalisation within Muslim youth, and that was in 2001, and I think that it's actually worsening as the years go by rather than getting better. So we provide a free and confidential faith and culturally sensitive service. It's non-judgmental and it's peer-to-peer, which is really important. So when people contact us, they can do so via telephone, internet chat or email, and they get a helpline worker who's been trained on the other side of the phone or the computer screen who's able to support them through their problems. I guess the difficulties that young people face are probably the same as the wider public. The only difference with Muslims is the fact that you've got the added pressure of culture and religion. It's an extra dynamic that's added to a lot of the issues that they face. So, like lots of people, they go through problems with relationships, unfortunately abuse, but also things like identity and faith. Things around racism and discrimination that makes them feel quite marginalised and isolated. Also, when they look around, they think about the kind of services available to try and support them, and unfortunately there aren't none. I know that over the past few years we have become better at talking about issues faced by young people rather than sweeping them under the carpet, but a lot of these issues and subjects are still actually taboo within the Muslim community, unfortunately. And that's why it's really important to have sessions like today to be able to talk about these issues and how we can support people through their mental health amongst the other issues that they face. So I guess with mental health it tends to be, it goes hand in hand with also the issues that young people face. I think every day in my GP practice, I'd probably say 40% of my consultations are around mental health. And even amongst the general public, it's still very difficult to tell people that they have mental health issues. Even within the wider British society, there is still a stigma attached to mental health issues. But things like initiatives like Time for Change is trying to change that. So just imagine the Muslim community is probably around 10 years behind. But I guess with the support of people and trying to acknowledge that there is an issue that we need to talk about. But it's not about mental illness as such, but rather thinking about mental well-being. I guess twisting it in a more positive way to be able to talk about it, quite frankly. Because I guess, just like you mentioned, there isn't, a word for depression in certain languages. It's very difficult to allow people to understand. Often people say it's in your head, just get on with it. There's nothing wrong with you. Sometimes we associate mental health with other issues such as gym, black magic, things like that. So there's a lot of education that needs to be done within the Muslim community. Thankfully, young people are actually understanding the importance of mental health now more than ever. A lot of the calls that MYH gets, people do recognise that they're going through something. They are in distress, but they probably don't have a label to it. Mental health is one of our 3 top issues that people contact us about. And the interesting thing with the kind of people who get in touch with us is actually we know that men find it very difficult to seek help, both from a health perspective, in terms of males coming to their GPs and telling them they've got a problem, but also in terms of seeking support. And actually with MYH it's quite interesting because around 40% of our callers are actually male, which is actually really important considering that the suicide rates amongst males is extremely high. So the number 1 cause of death amongst males is actually suicide under the age of 35. In 2013, 73% of all suicides were males, unfortunately, which basically tells you the fact that males find it very difficult to seek help, but often going through a lot of problems and a lot of issues and aren't able to talk about it. So females are slightly better, but even then that's actually not good enough in terms of them being able to seek support and seek help. And a lot of that is around the stigma of mental health and what it means to have mental health problems. So previously it used to be, oh, you're crazy, that you've actually got something wrong with you, you're not normal. It's also seen about honour, so anything that suggests that you've got any health problems is very much a taboo amongst a lot of the South Asian communities, the Middle Eastern communities, you need to be seen as perfect. It affects lots of different things in terms of how your family's reputation, in terms of marriage prospects, all of these things. It's added pressure on people trying to seek help, trying to talk about the issues that they face. And we have to recognise that mental health illnesses are there, but they're very much treatable through different avenues. Especially now, there's a lot of accessibility in terms of healthcare. You can go, there's something called improved access to psychological services. A lot of boroughs have that as a self-referral. There's a lot of counselling services available. Obviously, NYH is quite unique in the service that it offers, but we're also the first port of call for people who are suffering from these issues. They can always kind of call us, speak about their issues. If they're a bit more complex, we can always direct them to other agencies who can help them, often their GPs. And as I said, GPs see a lot of mental health as part and parcel of the kind of things that we see. And a lot of physical health conditions actually have an element of issues around mental health, and actually people find that quite difficult to grasp. So even that's quite difficult in terms of trying to educate people around mental health, around mental well-being. And also, even from a GP perspective, I know that within certain communities, they even find it difficult to get into their GPs because of issues around confidentiality. So there have been cases, obviously, of youngsters going to their GPs, expressing suicidal intent, and obviously, unfortunately, the GP has had to break confidentiality. And that then gets spread amongst the community, saying, you can't even trust your GP. Also, if your GP is your family doctor and they see your parents, then that's also very difficult because you suspect that they may mention something, even though from a GP we're entirely confidential. But that's also sometimes a barrier for people seeking help. So again, that's why education is so important, and education not just in our schools but actually in our Islamic centres. It's really important for imams on the pulpit to talk about these things, to talk about the issues that young people face, to talk about mental health, to talk about mental well-being. Because the more we talk about things, the more we can start working on this from a prevention perspective, rather than just sweeping things under the carpet and not talking about things purely because they're very difficult or they're a taboo. And it's important for each and every one of us here to kind of look at the people around us, to try and make sure that if we know someone is suffering, to try and provide them with support, because of the fact that mental health doesn't have kind of a cut on your arm that you can show or you're looking, but actually the mental anguish that you face and the distress that you go through is not something that's visible, and often lots of these people suffer in silence. NYH faces a lot of challenges with the kind of work that we do. Because of a lot of the things that I mentioned, people don't like to talk about things, people don't like to talk about difficult issues, they don't like to recognise the fact that the Muslim community has the same problems as the wider community. So we have a lot of cases of abuse, we have lots of issues around alcohol and drug abuse, and all these things would lead to mental health issues. But we just don't talk about it. We just think that by not talking about it, the problem's going to go away. But also the added complexity is the fact that a lot of people who have very strong faiths find it very difficult to admit to the fact that they have mental health issues. Because, when I was growing up, it used to be, if you've got very strong faith and you pray and you fast, then you can't suffer from mental health issues. No, you've got the Quran, you've got Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you turn to Him, then everything's okay. Absolutely. That is completely true, but only as a support thing. It's not going to prevent you from falling into depression. What it will do is allow you a tool to be able to get yourself out of it. So it's more of a support network as opposed to stopping you from becoming depressed or being anxious or having other mental health issues. And that's part of the problem, is that a lot of people feel a lot of shame by experiencing mental health issues because they think, why? I'm religious, I have been faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why am I going through this? There must be something wrong with me. And a lot of guilt comes into it, a lot of shame, a lot of questioning of one's spirituality, which tends to actually make things worse. So by us recognising the fact that anyone, absolutely anyone from any walk of life can suffer from mental health issues. Yes, there are people who are more vulnerable than other people. That's one of the reasons why this is so important, because Muslims are in the, socioeconomically deprived, hence you're more likely to have mental health issues with unemployment, isolation, marginalisation, racism. All of these things contribute to people having poor mental health. And if we're able to talk about it and support those people and recognise that actually you're at risk, so let's give you the tools to be able to deal with the issues that you're facing, then honestly we will go a long way. Especially when, statistics are 1 in 10 young people suffer from mental health issues, and only 70% of those young people actually get the help that they need. or rather I think it's 70% who don't get the help they need, so only 30% get the support that they need. And actually half of those people who suffer from mental health issues under the age of 16 go on to develop worse mental health in adulthood, requiring more support. So if we are able to intervene at a younger age, then I think we will provide better mental well-being, which means that we can provide much better, I guess, supporting people to prosper in the things that they want to do. At MyH faces a lot of barriers because we don't have a physical picture. We can't show you a picture of someone suffering. We can't show you a picture of someone who's dying from hunger. We can't show you a picture of someone who's purely suffering in silence, who's suffering from mental anguish. So when you go and you ask people for support, because obviously we're a charity and we need people to support us financially, they say, but why? There's people dying. Why should I give you money? You're just a chat line. People just call you to talk. They don't understand. Again, that's around education, to tell people actually talking really helps people. There's so much emphasis in Islam around talking and providing people with support. The hadith that says that if you allow, relieve the burden in the heart of your brother, you're guaranteed Jannah. It's things like that, and the amount of emphasis there is in Islam around supporting people with mental health issues, around mental well-being. And unfortunately, we're probably the worst people in terms of trying to offer that support. But if us sitting here now are able to look around us and look at people who can offer support, but also look at our own mental well-being. Most of the patients that I see, unfortunately, don't even recognise that they have mental health issues. But when I talk to them and we break it down, they think, yeah, actually, I am really stressed. That's probably contributing to why I'm getting all these aches and pains, or why I'm feeling so tired all the time. And if we're able to recognise that, then we can make a big difference in our communities going forward. And I just hope that we're able to continue doing talks like this to try and raise awareness about issues and ensure that people know that there are services out there that are able to support you when you're going through hardships, and that you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Farkan. Our next speaker tonight, for many people need an introduction. Ajmal Nasrullah is a well-known imam and broadcaster. Many of you will have seen him on TV. In an earlier life, he was a lay counsellor, helping people with relationship counselling, and also delivering relationship awareness programs. He's got an MA in Islamic Studies and completed his early education at Islamic school with renowned scholars. He's now the co-founder of the Barefoot Institute, which specialises in providing counselling and coaching services. I think he's going to start in just a moment when his slides come up on screen.
Thank you very much. I am grateful for your invitation, and of course for those of you who have been able to make it in this glorious day celebrating goodwill in the London election. I hope it's to your liking. It certainly is mine, but alhamdulillah. That's the good news, isn't it, for those of us who have been waiting for this news. Could be bad news for those who have been waiting for an alternative news. But every news generates an emotion, and that emotion then impacts on our mental well-being or mental not so well-being. That's the reason why I began by telling you this. So when I said this to my children today, usually on a Friday I spend a lot of time with my children, early morning till mostly evening. So I was here, then I handed them over to their mother. And in our car, my car, I was driving, and I said, Sadiq Khan has won. And my daughter and my son just jumped out of their seat, screaming the car down. I said, what's the matter? And little kids they are, 7 and 10. What is it so good about this news for them? I wanted to know more. So we had a conversation. And then my son Ibrahim said, Daddy, I want to become like Sadiq Khan. I want to be the mayor of London. And I said, why do you want to be a mayor of London? Why don't you want to be the Prime Minister of UK? He goes, yeah, I want to be the Prime Minister of UK. I share this with you because here you have an example of how good news leads to a fantastic mind, which is called the well-being of our mind. And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to run through this slide. Some of it will be controversial. Some of it may not tally with some of the medical things that you may have talked about, and some of the things that people find fashionable to discuss nowadays. Some of you know I don't beat around the bush. I do say a spade is a spade. So that's what I'm going to do today. And if you don't like it, I'm really sorry in advance. And of course, I'm very happy to have a conversation and very willing to change my mind on that.
I was going to say, just if anybody's joined us just lately, if you can't see the slides there, there are a couple of rows of sort of spare seats down the front. So if anybody wants to make their way forward, just so they can see the words on national science, please do.
Or you can borrow my glasses. That helps. I'm in a good mood today. That's why I'm cracking all these jokes. There is this verse of the Quran which I really like, and I often quote this verse. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها. Now, it's an occupational hazard. An imam, I can't stay away but from quoting from the Quran. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take an Islamic approach to how Islam sees the root of mental illnesses. Not the cure necessarily, but where does it start? How does it begin? And it's not dismissing anything else. It's just proposing its own. So the meaning of this verse is, consider the human self, how it is formed in accordance with what it is meant to be, and how it is imbued with moral failing, is that right? I can't see from here. Failing as well as with consciousness of God. To a happy state shall indeed attain he who causes this to grow in purity, and truly lost is he who buries it in darkness. Now, in this verse, the Quranic notion of our self, nafs, is considered as making two journeys. The journey of sadness and journey of happiness. Journey of happiness, before it's explained, Allah is saying, consider your human self and how it is formed in accordance with what it is meant to be. So every human self, that is you and me, is born naturally with what it is supposed to be. And what is it supposed to be? In a state of happiness. That's what nafs is. Naturally inclined to being happy. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and how it is imbued with moral failings as well as consciousness of God. So it is supposed to be happy, but it's got two opposing conflicts. One is the moral failings, fujuraha as they call it, or taqwaha, or the God consciousness. In order to navigate through this struggle, to a happy state shall you indeed attain only for those who cause this self to grow in purity. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Simplest meaning is those who allow themselves to nurture the growth of purity will be happy. Even more layman's term would be those who purify themselves will be happy. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And truly lost are the ones, those who bury themselves in darkness. I'll explain this a bit more as we move further forward. When you look at this image, happy soul. Often we talk about somebody who's a happy soul. What a happy soul. I had a fantastic time. My son is such a happy soul. Happy soul naturally means something that is pure, clean, clear, it's got virtues, wholesome, it's righteous, it's got integrity, honesty, all the good things. We don't say a happy soul is impure. We don't. We don't say unclean soul is a happy soul. We don't do that. That's natural. So when Allah talks about the one who is successful, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, He's talking about those who purify themselves, those who try and keep themselves clean, clear, try and attain a path of virtue, try and lead a wholesome life, try to be righteous and have integrity in everything that they do. Sad soul. these icons are very popular. But when you think about the word sadness, automatically a dark cloud appears in the horizon, consisting of misery, despair, loss, sadness, heartbreak, suffering, agony, pain, grief, woe, and so many other very dark and negative emotions. They exist. Both the good ones exist, as the one we talked about before, the happy soul scenario, and it also exists in the sad soul scenario. So Islam, Allah wants us to understand the existence of these two sets of emotions. Sadness in the Quran is what I'm going to talk about from here on. So what Islam suggests is that one of the reasons why people find themselves going down the slippery slope of many mental illnesses is because they have wallowed in their own sadness. Not that you will not feel sad, of course you will feel sad, that's natural. But wallowing in your own sadness is the first step in that slippery slope. So what Islam wants us all to recognize is that in the journey of purity, you will have the conflict. As long as you can overcome the sad emotions and not wallow in them, and pursue the happy soul emotions that we talked about, you are more likely not to have mental illnesses. That's all it says. It doesn't say you will definitely not have it. It doesn't say that. It doesn't give you a guarantee of anything, because ultimately everyone is different. But it recognizes that human being generally, with this wonderful state that God has created you and I in, you're more inclined towards happiness. So sadness in the Quran appears only in the form of a prohibition or a negative emotion. It doesn't appear as a good emotion at all. Actually, it says in the Quran, وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا. It's an order from God. Do not be of faint heart and do not be sad. It's a prohibition. Now, if Muslims by faith understand what a prohibition means, they will immediately understand the gravity of this statement. Not that all of us can 100% follow every word of Quran every day. We of course falter. There is ample room for that. But recognizing that sadness in the Quran is a prohibition. Don't be sad. It's a negative emotion. That's one verse you'll find. And the second verse, let me just explain this verse as I have written the notes. Quran places sadness at the center of mental illnesses. The consequences of allowing this emotion to fill your body, mind and soul, is extremely destructive and causes many emotional, psychological and even physical troubles. In the Quran, sadness is described as a very negative energy, and believers are strongly discouraged from allowing it to nurture or fester inside yourself. And then Quran places sadness as the center of mental illnesses. The consequences of allowing this emotion to fill your body, mind and soul is extremely, I've already read that, sorry, duplicated that. There are effects of sadness, but before I do that, I went to see a lady the other day. She was suffering from cancer. She called me up and she said to me, could you please come and see me? So, usually as an imam, we've got to do lots of things, and one of these is to go and see people who are not well. I went to see her in our house. And she said, she heard my speech, this I gave as a khutbah a long time ago. She goes, she has heard this. And in battling with her cancer, it helped her a lot. Because as soon as she was diagnosed with cancer, ovarian cancer actually, she was a very successful teacher, was on the verge of becoming deputy head teacher of a school, had bought her own flat, had a car, was successful, was a very happy lady. Suddenly was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And her sadness was this, that month of Ramadan, that year, she made prayers to Allah, oh Allah, please purify me, for I don't spend time in getting to know you. I don't pray often, I don't pray regularly, I'm too busy with material, please purify me. She goes to me, strangely, after Ramadan, I was leading my life along, and in October, November, I was diagnosed with cancer. Is this Allah's way of purifying me? So I became very upset with Allah. She said, I asked Allah to purify me, and He's giving me cancer. What's going on? What's wrong with Allah? She said. She became very upset, very depressed. And then one of her sisters said, why don't you listen to this khutbah? And she did. Somehow, I was able to connect with her, and she said, this one sentence you said in that khutbah, which really made me think, why am I festering in my sadness? I have got cancer, I know. How can I fight this cancer? So she made a promise that I'm not going to allow the feeling of sadness to overtake me from today. So she's fighting cancer back. She goes, now I'm the most excited person ever. An entire family said, she has never been like this. Constantly laughing, constantly smiling, there's a beam, there's a light beaming out of her face. Even I could feel it in her presence. And she said to me, it's simply fighting sadness, not allowing it to overtake me. That's all. I'm not going to be able to, and then she goes to me, even if I die tomorrow, I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm happy right now. I'm facing cancer bravely rather than be a coward. And then she said, I'm most happy and excited now. And I said to her, why are you so excited of dying? She goes to me, because I'm going to meet Allah. And that really hit me hard, that it must be a huge mountain to climb from that particular state of being to where she is today. Anyway, effects of sadness. There are 5 effects that I have identified. When you are sad, sadness provides no benefit. Takes people off track, diminishes your determination to actually get on with life, destroys your ambitions, and weakens your heart. Just think about it. That's what happens when you wallow in your sadness. We all feel sad occasionally. I would have felt sad today if Sadiq didn't win. But would I have wallowed in that sadness if I had gone home, gone depressed, cried, maybe gone for a long walk, imagined life without him being the man? I can go down that path, come on. My wife left me, am I going to be crying for the rest of my life? I could actually make up a story in my mind and journey that story and make things worse for myself. And what Allah is saying to us is, the emotion called sadness exists, and you get it. But don't allow the entire slippery slope to open up. So if you do, then this is what happens. You have no benefits whatsoever. It takes you off the track. It diminishes your determination. It destroys your ambition and weakens your heart. I'm going to run through this quickly because I know the time is short and we of course want to discuss this. So if you look at these masks are very often, or these icons are very often associated with sadness. Mask, the biting of the nail, constantly fidgeting, constantly worried. There was a girl who was travelling on the train with me yesterday, and day before yesterday I was coming from Newcastle. An entire 3-hour journey, all she did was she was biting her nails. And she was sitting in front of me. I kept my mouth shut completely, said nothing. That's not normal for me, but I did. I read and I wrote, and when the train stopped, her bag fell on me from the top. So I caught it, I gave it to her, and I said, this is yours. She said, I'm really sorry. Did it hurt? I said, no, it's no problem, it's no big deal. And then we started talking. She goes to me, I'm on my final year of my medical degree. I said, very nice to know. Then I said to her, do you mind if I say something to you? She goes, what? Are you very nervous? She goes, why do you say that? I said, are you going through exam stress? She goes, why do you ask? I said, I saw you biting your nails for 3 hours. And she immediately hit her nail. I said, go on, let me show you your nails. So she did. There was nothing left of it. She said to me, when I look at them, I feel sick, but I can't stop it. Obviously, I was a therapist, so I'm not going to even attempt to help her. I told her something that I did with my son, who got into the habit of biting his nail. So when he was young, I said to my wife, let's try and get him over this habit. But he wouldn't listen, nothing would work. So I took the drastic measure. I bought a packet of plasters and plastered every single finger, the tip of it. So he's young, he looked at it, first day he thought it was funny. Second day he couldn't bite it anymore, so he started crying. Third day he was very upset. Fourth day there was a massive tantrum. Fifth day he didn't even look at it. 6th day, he forgot about it. 7th day, I think he didn't even remember there was a plaster. On the 8th morning, I took them all off. It's been 6 years, he's never bitten his finger. Now, I'm not saying this is the solution of everything. I'm just saying how we create stories in our mind, and if we allow that story to continue, we feel comfortable in staying in that situation because that's what we're comfortable with. It's about recognizing that, am I doing this constantly? Am I always wondering, what if I did this? What if I did this? Well, I think about this. Now, what if I didn't go to Bangladesh when I was younger and studied in an Islamic school? I had to study in Oxford. Dream on, Ajmal, wake up. It could be I did. It could be I would have been successful. What if, and I have lots of friends who went to Oxford, Cambridge, earning 6-figure sums. And I say to one of my best friends, he's a very successful gentleman, I said to him, what if I hadn't gone and become an imam? We studied together in our primary school. Look at where you are, look at where I am. He goes to me, well, you are happier than me anytime, hands down. And you know what? He's right, I am so happy. Alhamdulillah, I am not chasing money, I'm not chasing material, I am not sad. That's what I say, what ifs, constant what ifs. And then our state of heartbrokenness, when it comes, it's natural to be heartbroken. It's natural to be hurt. Children cry when they're hurt. But they make a big drama when people are around. Remember this. I remember my son fell the other day at the back in the back garden. We all looked from inside the garden, inside the house, didn't get out. He got up, looked around, everything is fine. A few hours later, he scratched his finger, and I was like, Daddy, I said to him, Sonny boy, I saw you yesterday fall over, and nothing happened. I gave him a hug, he wanted a hug. It's human nature. But do we need to wallow in our sadness? That's the question. And the final problem we have is the mindset that we create, the optimistic mindset and the pessimistic mindset. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. Now I'm going to ask you this question quite openly. How many of you fall in which category? Just ask yourself this question. Don't answer it for me. Just ask yourself. Do you see difficulty in every opportunity, or do you see opportunities in every difficulty? Now, that's your own question. It's your own journey. If you are a pessimist, it's more likely that you're treading the sad path. More likely, mark my word. I'm not saying you are definitely, more likely. If you are an optimist, it's more likely that you are treading the happy path, as Quran describes. Let's move on. I don't like lots of statements of Mark Twain, but this is a very good one. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. Does that ring bell? We all worry so much about lots of things. Actually, take a piece of paper and write them down. How many of your worries actually came true? I can guarantee you less than 1%. Worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it never gets you anywhere. It is so true. You sit there, worry. I always have a good laugh at my wife. She's sitting there, what are you worried about? I'm not worried, because I'm trying to break her worry. Or she will look at me and say, what are you worried about? And then I would say, I'm not worried. That's a good way of helping one another break the habit of worrying if you're married. Brothers and sisters, families, you can do that. But people have a natural tendency of worrying. Ask yourself, where do you go with so many worries? And then I was about to quote Winston Churchill, but Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi's 5 tips on, very different, isn't it? No, Qayyim al-Jawzi said the 5 things you should do to, tips from Ibn Qayyim to overcome these negative thoughts that we all have. Don't ruin your happiness with worry. Don't ruin your mind with pessimism. Don't ruin your optimism of others by destroying it. Don't ruin your success with deception, and don't ruin your today by looking at yesterday. Let me run through them very quickly so we can all understand. 5 very beautiful tips. He said, don't ruin your happiness with worry. You could be happy if you didn't worry so much. I woke up the other day with a massive bang. My wife jumped out of the bed at 7 o'clock in the morning. She opened the curtain. She goes to me, oh my God, Masroor, your car is destroyed. I said, what? I got out of my bed, came to the window. My car was parked on the road. Somebody had knocked my car from the front. My car had hit the car behind. It flipped over onto my neighbour's front garden and it hit the side, and I looked at my car and said, wow.
It fly over.
Yeah, as I then quickly came downstairs, went out. The guy who had hit the car, he had stopped. I went to him and I said to him, are you okay? He said, yes, I'm fine. Shall I call the police? He said, no, I'm on the ambulance. I'm calling the ambulance right now. So I said, I'll call the police. I did. And then police came, his family came. And after everything, the family said to me, why are you looking so relaxed? And I said, what would I gain by screaming and shouting at what's happened? In our family, we have a golden rule. Never tell anyone off for accidents. If a child drops something accidentally, if something happens as an accident, never tell anybody off, because it's called accident. It's not deliberate. So the sister said to me, if I was you, I would have killed my brother. The driver who drove into my car. I said, I would not gain anything out of it. In fact, I would have ruined my happiness by doing exactly that. In fact, I was very content. So content that I took some pictures, I spoke to the police, I came home, had some breakfast, and then I called the insurance company, and that was my end of my day. My wife said, my day is ruined. I said, no, it's not your car, it's my car. Relax. You've got your car intact, go on, you just carry on. Still today, I don't have that car. My car is destroyed. So don't ruin your happiness with worry. Don't ruin your mind with pessimism. If you constantly think about the negativity, if you constantly think about dark and doom and gloom, wallahi, you will not ever find happiness. And your mind will respond to these constant pessimism. Don't ruin your optimism. Don't ruin optimism of others by destroying it. So somebody comes to you optimistic, so excited. You just dump them straight away by saying something negative. It happens at home, at your families. You're smiling at me, I can see. It's a very normal thing. You know, your wife cooks a wonderful meal. She comes to you, how do you like it? That's already destroyed, completely gone. I had a fantastic news. Later, please. You've just destroyed the person's optimism. The person wants to share something good. It's the typical example of the Muslim syndrome, I call it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, I say to people, wa alaikum assalam. It's like, not now, brother, I've just given you salam. What do you mean, not now? That kind of ruining other people's optimism by being that destructive. Number 4, don't ruin your success with deception. This is one of the most dangerous things that I recognize happening around us every day. All of us have a face, a facade, a persona, a personality, a fake ID that we create about ourselves, that we present to everybody else. That's what we would like the world to know us about. But our real self, nobody knows. Even people complain, brother, I've been married to that man, or that woman, sorry, for a long time. Could you please tell me, how do I cope with this man? I don't know him. Actually, I have a message this morning. I've been married to him 17 years. I don't know who he is. It can be, and I know people who really put up a face. And a lot of brothers and sisters who come to me often complaining, I can't find a person to get married to, or I'm very upset because people don't accept me for who I am. I always ask them, do you really allow others to know who you are? Is that really you? Because if it's really you, somebody will find you, somebody will connect with you. But the more face, the mask you put up, the more likely that you will tread that path of sadness. So it's deception that we need to be very aware of. And the final one, don't ruin your today by looking at yesterday. Hassan al-Basri said something very beautiful. He said, yesterday is gone. I can't do anything about yesterday, it's gone. Tomorrow I have no guarantee that I'll live or not. I only have today. Why do I need to worry about what I did yesterday? Why do I have to worry about or plan so much and so meticulously about tomorrow? I need to invest everything today and do everything right now today in the best way possible. Because if I die next second, I've done it. Instead of investing it for tomorrow. So just to finish off, guarding against sadness, just like you said earlier on, Furqan, right? You said a few things which I thought I would echo again. Faith, Iman. How do you guard against? If you have a good, strong faith that Allah does not burden you with any more burden than you can bear, Allah will not test you without the test being good for you. There is goodness awaiting. There is always goodness coming after sadness. It's the cycle of life. Having those faith inside you. I always ask people when they say to me, oh, I can't take it anymore. I say, don't say that. You can take it anymore. Actually, the fact that you can take it, the fact that you're alive is an example of the fact that you can take it. If you couldn't take it, you'd be dead. Allah says that, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah will not burden a soul more than it can bear. If Allah is saying He's not going to give you more than you can bear, why are you saying you can't take it? The moment you say, I can't take it, you have gone down the negative path of sadness. The moment you say, I can take it, very few things will actually ruin you. When I stood for election the first time in 2005, some of you know I've also have a very political mind, so I stood for Parliament twice. First time I stood and then I stood down, but the second time I did the full run. When I stood down the first time was around a controversy, and which I didn't have enough time to defend myself, so I decided to resign. But the day they called me into the office and told me that we have no time to defend or put a case for you, tomorrow is the deadline for nomination, there is only one option, you stand down. And I said, okay. But I remember that I have that vivid memory. The entire world went silent around me. I left the office. I could not hear anything. The road, the traffic, I had heard nothing. There was a pin drop silence in my head. Absolute ruin I felt. I felt so depressed and sad. Remember, depressed and sad? That's what I felt, I thought. I came home and I said to my wife, I feel very, very sad. I feel everything has come to an end. The earth has moved from under my feet. My wife said to me, I've got a solution for you. I said, what's the solution? She goes, let's go somewhere else. Where shall we go? She goes, let's go to another country. We're young, we have no children, we're alhamdulillah, let's go. I said to her, okay, let me think about it. She goes, no thinking, let's go. I said, okay, where are you going to go? She goes, let's go to Egypt. Fair enough, I had a friend in Egypt, I called him, I said, I'm coming. He goes, come along. I told him the story, he goes, I'll receive you at the airport. He received me at the airport, he took my wife and I, put us in his luxury vehicle and he said, I'm going to send you to Sharm el-Sheikh. In my own resort, you're going to stay there for 7 days, everything paid for, and part of your stay is going to be, you're going to be doing diving course. I'm going to give you a diving course. I said, oh, fantastic, good. So I went, alhamdulillah. So I was doing diving, my wife didn't want to do diving, so she was doing all sorts of other things. One morning, I'm sleeping on my bed, and it's about 6 o'clock, I open one of my eyes, and I see my wife sitting next to me. She's supposed to be lying down, why is she sitting up? I said, well, you're okay. Are you okay? She goes, yes, and I fell asleep again, very tired. So she woke me up. She goes to me, I want to talk to you. I said, what have I done? I've been sleeping, I told her. She goes, no, you've not done anything. I've got something to tell you. I said, what have you got to tell me? She goes, have a look at this. So she took out one of those pregnancy kits. And she goes to me, look. I said, what? She goes, look. I said, I can't see anything. She goes, rub your eyes properly. I rubbed it. I said, oh my God, I can see a blue line. She goes, yes, I'm pregnant. I said, what? You're pregnant? Alhamdulillah. I jumped with joy. From that depth of feeling sad to the best news one could give me ever. The news of our first arrival. So can you see how if I wallowed in the sadness and if I believed that always I'll remain sad, if I didn't have that faith, how I could have ruined myself? I didn't. And something better came. Having conviction, yaqeen, having reliance on God, having patience, having gratitude, contentment, all those things, just the basic things that we always talk about. You can take them down and you can read up about them and you can find out about how to get them. I'm not going to tell you how, but these are some of my suggestions. And to finish off, this is my favorite dua. Dua is supplication, as you probably know. This is my favorite one that the Prophet used to do. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, wa a'udhu bika min al-'ajzi wal-kasal, wa a'udhu bika min al-jubni wal-bukhl, wa a'udhu bika min ghalabati ad-dayni wa qahri ar-rijal. Well, Allah, I seek refuge in you from depression and grief. Prophet recognized depression. So there is an Arabic word for depression. And I seek refuge in you from helplessness and laziness. And I seek refuge from you from cowardice and stinginess. And I seek refuge from you from overpowering of debt and from oppression of people. Now look at these sequence of du'as the Prophet is making. I seek refuge in you, O Allah, from depression and grief. Hammi wal hazan, actually depression and sadness, he puts them together. and I seek refuge in you from helplessness and laziness. They follow one after the other. I seek refuge in you from being coward and stingy. I seek refuge in you from being overpowered by debt and oppression. All of these things contribute to our negative state of mind. So just to finish off, I feel happy, I feel sad. What do I give more time to? Would determine whether I am more likely to fall victim of mental health. If I give more time to sadness, it's more likely that I will go down that route. If I give more time to happiness, then I believe you would be more likely not to go down that route. If anyone has mental illnesses and has been diagnosed, I had a gentleman come after Jum'ah prayer today to me, and he said to me, my daughter was 11, has got this, he said to me, she's got this waswas, which is whisper. An instant extrapolation in his mind is, she's been possessed by jinn. And you're an imam, can you do some ruqyah on her, please? That was what he was thinking about. The moment he said, my daughter, and he described the symptoms, and the moment he used the word waswas, I said, stop. What makes you think it's a waswas? He goes, oh. Some of the other imams have said it's waswas. I said, I don't think it's waswas. Your daughter needs a psychiatric evaluation first. Have you approached your GP? No. Have you approached your school? No. Can you do that first? School and your GP. Get her evaluated first. If there is an issue for which she needs help, there could be specialists available. If those specialists say that it's not within our capacity to deal with it, and then if somebody needs to look at jinn, then we can look at jinn. But that's the last one. Unfortunately, the Muslim community does the jinn first. I've got a headache, jinn. I can't have a baby, jinn. My husband doesn't love me anymore, jinn. My mother-in-law is causing trouble, jinn. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing jinn, jinn and jinn from every single corner. I'm asking us to actually take ownership and responsibility and try and take responsibility for our own actions. And our own action, the best one you have, is don't wallow in sadness. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much there, Ajmal. And we're just going to have a quick give of musical chairs among the speakers, just while our third speaker, like Khadija, sort of moves down to the screen. As I say, our first speaker tonight is Khadija Abdulhamid. Khadija is a business management graduate from the University of Westminster Business School, and she runs her own YouTube channel with spoken words and is an entrepreneur. And she's the founder of the Unity campaign, which provides awareness of gun crime and knife usage, particularly in inner city areas. Unity being an acronym for Understanding Negative Issues Towards Youth. And she's also, in a former time, been a campaigner with the UK Youth Parliament. And Khadija's here tonight to share with us a very personal story of hers that relates to mental health. And she's also got a video as part of her talk tonight, which I think we're going to go to in just a couple of moments. Just while we're waiting for that to come up, as I said, another reminder, if you are on Twitter tonight, you can sort of join in the discussion and let your friends and contacts who aren't with us here tonight know, just using the hashtag CCTalks. Okay, Khadija, over to you. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. My name is Khadija Abdulhamid, and today I'm basically going to share, first time actually sharing this in a gathering like this, about my personal journey through depression. And I want to show you a video because I know every speaker has 10 minutes to speak. I'm going to talk for 5 minutes because the video is 5 minutes long.
I think Ajmal was quite little, but it's 10 minutes.
I'm sorry. So the video I'm about to show you now is my journey of depression. I've got a YouTube channel called Dose of Inspiration. I'm going to come later on and say why I chose the name and why I started the channel. But right now I really want to show you the video. And I released it I think 2 weeks ago now. And mashallah, in 6 days it reached 95 countries. And there's 196 countries in the world, I counted. I wanted to know how far it was going to reach. And I had so much blessing from the video, and a lot of people have told me it's helped them. SubhanAllah, man, like, I don't want to cry, but I had, so when the video came out, I plastered it all over Facebook, groups, anything to do with mental health or Islam or outside of Islam, etc. And I had, my inbox was kind of filled with a lot of Muslims. One of them that really attracted my attention was a sister. I'm not going to mention what country she's from, but she messaged me, she's outside of the UK. And she goes to me, Assalamu alaikum, I came across your video this morning, Day Depression, and I've never connected with anyone in my life, and you're so brave to speak about your own journey, and I love what you're doing, etc. And then she said this part which made me feel so happy because it's exactly what I'm trying to do. She said to me, I'm never going to lie to you, last night I was so close to taking my own life. You don't understand, I have never been so close to taking my own life, but something inside me told me not to. And then as soon as I woke up, within a couple of minutes, I found your video, and that's when I had to reach out to you. And now me and her speak on Facebook. That's literally one of the many stories I've received. And so now I'm just literally in contact with her on Facebook. I'm trying to tell her, don't do anything silly, because I was there, I'm here to help you. But I'm going to play the video, and then I'm going to continue.
Dear Depression, this is an open letter to you. I wasn't sure if I should write this or not, but it's a part of me that needs to lay it out. I've cried so many tears for so many years, because you've taken a part of me when I was only 15. Yeah, it feels like yesterday, even though it was 10 years ago. And now you've taken someone I know. He used to be a friend. Now he's just another statistic. How many people are going to lose their battle with you? So I believe this letter is one overdue. I was too afraid to speak out loud, but enough is enough. Did you know that you take more than 4,000 lives a year? That's on death every 2 hours. You take more lives than homicide. And that's just in the UK. I keep hearing that maybe life isn't for everyone, but I fail to believe that. Because I loved life when I was 15, but it was that understanding that I was missing. I think it's about time I let the whole world know what you put me through. I mean, you didn't even let me have a childhood. You sentenced my soul and took over my heart's emotion. I remember when you introduced me to self-harm. The temptation was high and my addiction grew over time. Negative thoughts were polluting my mind. I had nowhere to go and nobody to run to. I was lost and I needed guidance, and you took advantage of it. I was so desperate for a shoulder to cry on. I just wanted someone to understand what I was going through. To self-harm was a release for the pain that was inside of me. I slit my wrists until my mom caught me. I remember her reaction when she saw the scene I was in. She asked me what could be hurting you, my child, when you have God in your life. She didn't understand that I found comfort in you. Because you're the only one that stood when nobody else ever could. You made me feel accepted when I felt rejected. You gave me hope. Now I realize it's all a delusion. I remember when I stopped self-harming, I felt strange, because it's part of my daily ritual. So I started again. I had so much self-loathe that I began to burn my hands. I used one matchstick for each wound. And when I think of it now, I'm glad the only scars I have are the ones in my heart. I decided to write this letter as a voice for the millions of lives, those who are no longer here and those on the edge of darkness. I know if I didn't speak now, I would have to forever hold my peace. But I can't let you win. I can't let you walk away free of charge, taking the souls of our lives, playing the role of the angel of death. Put me through hell, made me contemplate suicide more than 3 times, but I guess you didn't know me as you thought you did, because God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. So I took every pain in my body and turned it into a story to inspire millions of lives, because it doesn't matter what your religion, culture, or background is. Because just like cancer or any other disease, mental health is a real thing. Except we don't receive the support that we need. And only after we take our lives, people then decide to hear our cries because they've failed to see signs. But why do you need to wait that late? Because when you're alive, you're calling, seeking attention, or overreacting. What you just heard was my struggle. A story of a girl who picked herself up when her family and community couldn't understand her. Because it isn't enough that depression is a stigma and I had to deal with it. But it's also a taboo in my culture and as a Muslim. Now I'm on a mission to help others and use what used to be my weakness to strengthen millions. Mental health is a real thing. So did depression. I accept your challenge. It's me against you in this world of mental rejection. Yours sincerely, Khadija Abdul Hamid. Still a humble person, but no longer your obedient servant.
So hard really being so much emotion coming out. So I made this video because I really believe that, you know, people need to really understand mental health, and I'm so happy that I spoke last because when the two speakers were talking, I wrote down so much stuff and I said, oh my god, yeah, didn't you mention that? It's so true, oh my god, you know, so thank you for that. So my channel is called Dose of Inspiration, and I don't know if you've seen the logo on the video, but the O looks like a pill, and on the middle it says inspiration on it. And basically what happened was, I didn't really mention my whole story because, you know, it's spoken word, you can't really talk for long, but I'm 25 now, and I suffered with depression, for 7 years, so from the age of 15, you do the maths. So it started when I was 15 in high school. Like I mentioned in the poem, I did a lot of self-harm. I used to slit my wrists, and then, you know, I couldn't really speak to anyone about it because I knew no one would understand. It's you know, like some of the speakers were saying before, there's no word for depression or, you know, sadness, and there isn't like a particular word for it, especially in Arabic. And I really couldn't speak to anyone, obviously being a Muslim, and, you know, I couldn't talk to anyone, so I just, for me personally, self-harming me, it was kind of some sort of release. I felt like, oh, that's so cool. I think the way self-harm, I could relate it to the way it feels is like, do you know when you've had like a long day and you just come home and you just open the bottom of your jeans and you're like, oh, it's so relaxing. That's how it feels like, literally. And it's like a weird thing to use, but analogy. But yeah, so that's how I felt. So I did that, and then, so like I said, my mum caught me, and then I started to burn my hands, etc. And then what happened during my journey was that I had therapy when I was in high school, and then after I left high school I had therapy again because I fell into depression again. And my second time, my therapist was through the NHS. And then when I started my therapy with her, my first session was for 6 weeks, they said that if she goes to me, we're going to do this test right now. I have to do it with everyone that comes in, and it's basically to see how, you know, bad your situation is. So I was like, okay, cool. So I did this test and was asking a couple of, you know, questions, how I feel on a daily basis, etc. So when I finished the test, she goes to me, you've got it's quite high, like you're basically almost suicidal. And I said to her, yeah, that's what I mean. and then after 6 weeks, after 6 weeks we did the test again, and it was kind of like, it was really low. And one of the speakers, I can't remember who was saying it, and it really is about speaking and giving we just want someone to listen to us. You know, we don't want, you know, like I said in my video, it's not about seeking attention or, you know, our emotions as human beings, it goes up and down. For a depressed person, is totally different. So we just really need someone to listen, and when we're going through what we're going through. And my mum as well, she used to always say to me, one of the speakers mentioned it before, when your iman is high, or you've got Allah in your life, etc. Like I said in my video, that's really good, and that kind of gives us a bit of hope, because it reminds us that, this dunya or this world is a test, but at the end of the day, it's still, I prefer the self-harm. It's like when you try to talk to a Muslim, he's always trying to push the deen, and it doesn't work like that with people who are going through depression. So for me, it didn't. I said, when I was my therapist, after I finished, she goes, even though it's low, I want to give you tablets to take, it can help you, antidepressants. And I go, so you know what, you can keep it, because I've seen effects it has on people, and I don't want that. And I said to her, I barely take ibuprofen, I'm not taking tablets. So she was like, okay, it's fine, And one of the things she told me, she sent this letter to my GP, she sent me a copy, and every day I look at it and I'm like, wow, I've come so far. And in the letter she was saying, Khadija's fine, there's no suicidal feelings or anything like that anymore, but she needs to work on her personality and, to be, more confident in her skin, basically. So I was like, cool. And then the way I came up with my channel, Dose of Inspiration, is from what she said to me about taking antidepressants. I took that, and I took her saying I need to work on my confidence. And then I think a year after that, I came across a motivational video on YouTube. I didn't know what motivation was. And I started listening to it. I was like, oh my God, what is this world? I've never heard of it before. And then people just talking about inspiration, positivity, and I was like, oh my God, I need more of this. And I was doing video from video. And I loved it, because one of the things I always say in interviews or whatever, that even though, strangely enough, I was going through depression, inside me, I kept saying, you're destined for greatness, you're destined for greatness. I don't know what it is, but Allah knows, so we just have to wait and find out. I used to always ask myself some kind of positivity, and then it kind of hit me when I came up with my channel that maybe my purpose or my legacy that I wanted to find was to help save a lot of lives. And me, by nature, I love helping anyone as much as I can. And when it comes to saving lives, I was like, okay, so I can't be a doctor because I'm not that smart. Find a different way. So I think for me, this is something I'm really passionate about. So Dose of Inspiration came up really from that. I want to give people the doses of inspiration that I was given through personal development, and a lot of people don't even know what that is. If you want to know about it, you have to go on my YouTube channel. I'm not telling you what it is right now. So I think personal development is really important for people. You need to grow as a human being. We're always growing anyway, so why not grow and learn more about yourself and be more confident? So after I did that, this year's Day Depression is my second spoken word. My first spoken word is nothing to do with depression. So then after that, I started doing my channel, and now doing talks and speaking to people just from Day Depression. I've had a lot of people messaging me, like I was saying before, and there's something about as Jamal was saying before, when it comes to materialistic and money, literally I'm not even that kind of person. There's a saying that goes, some people like to fill their pockets with money, and the rest like to fill it with their hearts. I can't remember. And it's true, some of us can have all the money in the world and do whatever we want. But for me, my passion and my drive is helping and saving other people. So then Day Depression went out. So what I did as soon as it came out, I started sending it to a couple of charities. And one charity got back to me and they said, I love your video, I think it's amazing, that mental health awareness week is coming up, May 16, and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. So they're like to me, we want you to write a short biography about your life, and then kind of sum it up in 500 words. And what they're going to do is that, and I'm working with them, and with their help, we from May the 16th until that whole week, I'm going to be literally all over the charity, and they even got the opportunity to have an interview with Huffington Post. and I had it almost a week ago now, and that's also coming out in the same week. So I'm quite excited. I'm getting this attention just from this video, and a lot of people can relate to it. So a lot of sorry. Which she was saying before, suicide is really high, and depression with men, it's totally true. Like you saw in my video at the end, one of my friends, he took his own life. He wasn't Muslim, but it doesn't matter. Like I said, the Korean cultural background, it doesn't matter. He committed suicide, and the craziest thing is that I was so irritated with myself because I was like, I went through it, why didn't I see the signs? And subhanAllah, only after he passed away, I realised when I was doing my research that with men, you really can't tell, because he was the most outspoken person, he was so confident, you could never see this in him. And then when I got the news, I was like, whoa, like it hit me, like it was really deep. And then I was already going to do what I was going to do with depression, but when I got the news with him, that gave me, the drive to really go out there and speak about it. And I have a lot of Muslims who say that what you're talking about is amazing, sharing your own story. And I'll be honest with you, right, it's hard. Right, it's hard. Like 2 days ago, I shared a picture of when I used to self-harm, when I burnt my hands, and I shared it on Facebook. I wrote the whole status at 20 minutes before I actually clicked post. And I said to my friends, some of them in the video, I goes, guys, I don't know if I should post this. And they're like, are you crazy? You have to. I was like, okay. And then I was like, you know what? You might end up saving someone's life. And when I posted it, like within 5 minutes, people already saying, I want you to write me a story about your life. I want to post it on my website. I want to do an interview with you. Others were like, whoa, I had no idea you went through all this. My family didn't know. My family only found out about everything. Family, friends. When they saw the depression, they were so amazed about how I kept it quiet for 7 years. My mom obviously knew, because she called me, like I said in the poem, but obviously we kept it between us, no one else. And everyone else was like, he found out the day, he was like, seriously, you were depressed? And I was like, yes. He was like, not really. And I was, Mom knows about it. So they had their own conversation. But yeah, I had to hide it. And the reason I had to hide it was especially with my dad, because he's an imam. We've been out to the Sudanese community. So I kind of had to hide it from him. But alhamdulillah, I'm in a place in my life right now where I'm a public speaker. So I talk at events. I'm also doing my YouTube channel. So I've come really far from going where my therapist said I need to work on my confidence to where I am today. I've come so far. And I don't want to take much of your time, but I really, really want with my channel to really inspire people, because nobody was there for me when I was growing up from the age of 15 to 22, 23. When I was going through this, I'm 25 now, no one was really there for me. So I feel like it's my duty to be there for others. And I was like, the only way I can do it, because of what I do on social media, a lot of people said to me that you should go to do it on a wider scale. So I was thinking, what's the widest you can get? YouTube. So then that's how I came up with the idea, and I started it. And since then, everything's just been going kind of crazy. I just want to see if we didn't miss out on anything. Yeah, and then last thing, one of the things I really believe is I hated living with the word what if. I hate that word. I don't like it because I don't want to, even like I was saying before, even though I was going through depression and stuff, I've always said to myself, like I said, I was destined for something. And what if is like, I don't want to be on my deathbed and think, what have I done? Obviously we all agree that we're here for the sake of Allah, and this was a test. But for me, I needed something more else. So whatever opportunity that came into my life, I took it, and I went for it. And I would never say no to an opportunity if I know it's going to help me, if I know it's going to help my family or anyone else that would benefit, like my followers and stuff. But yeah, that's it really. I can talk on forever, by the way, just to let you know, guys. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much there, Khadija. And I was going to say, we've sort of been a little bit of a victim of our own success tonight, and because we've had three speakers who I think have been sort of unfair and rude of me to sort of cut short and sort of make them stick to the sort of 10-minute format. Unfortunately, we're very almost out of time now. I'm aware that Maghrib is going to be in around about 3 or 4 minutes' time, but also our booking on the rooms ends quite soon. I don't think we're going to have time for the panel discussion, unfortunately. I'm really sorry about that. But I think hopefully, sort of while we're packing up the room, maybe if the speakers are able to sort of come and take questions from people individually. I think we've actually got to sort of completely vacate the room by around about 22 to 9 or so, which means
We could bring up within about 5 minutes or so.
I think we are probably going to. I think unfortunately we are probably just about out of time now. We are going to need some time to clear the room, unfortunately. But if you're able to stay up here, and if anybody wants to come up sort of individually, just while we're packing up. Thank you all very much for coming. And just very briefly, next week we have a talk on a very different topic. It's entitled Faith on the Front Line, and it's with Imam Hassan Hafiz, who's the first Imam and Muslim chaplain to be serving in the British Armed Forces. There's information about that on our website at thecitycircle.com. That'll be at the same time here at Arbor House on Edgware Road next week. But until then, thank you all very much for coming. Thank you very much to our speakers for coming and sharing their stories. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.